Have you ever wanted to freehand crochet your own shrug? It's easy, I'll show you. Recently, I decided to make myself a mesh shrug. It's something that I've been wanting to make for quite some time and just haven't gotten around to. This shrug is very simple to make. I didn't follow any instructions or follow a pattern, I just decided what shape it needed to be and started crocheting. Essentially, a shrug is just a long rectangle with a hole in the middle for your head. Sew those arms together and blammo, you got yourself a shrug. What I'll be showing you is a formula or a recipe on how to make this shrug by measuring against your own body. I'll be using Lion brand comfy cotton yarn and a 9mm hook. You can use whatever yarn and hook you'd like. You do not have to use the same gauge yarn and hook as I am. The beauty of this is that it will work with any yarn and hook combo. So, grab whatever yarn and hook makes you happy for this project and some stitch markers, and let's get started. First, you'll need to decide on how tightly fitted your shrug will be. Minimally, it needs to be large enough to fit over the widest part of your arm. Make an even numbered chain that is long enough to wrap around the widest part of your arm. For a looser fit, make a longer chain. Once your chain is as long as you would like, chain 5. In the 5th chain from the hook, place a double crochet. Now we will start a stitch pattern that we will repeat for the rest of the shrug. We're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and double crochet. We will repeat this until the end of the chain, ending on a double crochet in the final chain. Now that we've reached the end of the row, we are going to chain 3, turn, and double crochet into the top of the next double crochet. Now we will continue that pattern of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet until we get to the final double crochet of the row. To end this row, place a double crochet into the 3rd chain in the turning chain we used to start the project. Chain 3 and turn your work, then place a double crochet in the top of the next double crochet. We're going to continue our stitch repeat pattern of a chain 1, skip 1, double crochet until you get to the final double crochet of the row. Then we're going to place a double crochet in the 2nd of the 3 chains that we used at the end of our row, and then it's time to chain 3, turn, and repeat. We're going to keep following this row repeat pattern until your sleeve is long enough to reach the middle of the top of your shoulder. You can drape the shrug over your arm with row 1 where you'd like the end of your sleeve to be to measure your progress. You can also use a measuring tape to measure your arm from the wrist or where you'd like your sleeves to end, and up to about halfway across your shoulder. Keep in mind that there will be some stretching once your shrug is sewn together and worn. If you'd like to make cuffs, be sure to leave enough room on the edge of your sleeve for that as well. I like for the neck opening on mine to begin about halfway between the edge of my shoulder and my neck. You can make yours larger or smaller if you like. It just needs to be large enough for your head to fit through. Keep in mind though, if you make your neck opening too large, the shrug will fall off of your shoulders when worn. Once your sleeve reaches the desired point on your body or your desired measurement, it's time to start your neck opening. Find the center point of your shrug. If you have an odd number of double crochets, mark the center stitch. If you have an even number of double crochets, mark the center 2 stitches. Start your next row normally, and when you reach the double crochet before the marked stitch, chain 3 and turn. This is the new end of your row. Continue on with our repeating row pattern until your front panel is long enough to reach to the opposite point on your other shoulder. For me, this was about 12 rows. Once your front panel has reached your desired length, cut your yarn and fasten off, leaving a tail long enough to weave in later. Now that our first body panel is long enough, we need to make the other side. Count the number of rows on that front panel. If it's an even number, fasten your yarn onto the second chain of the chain 3 on the outside edge. If it was an odd number, fasten onto the top of the double crochet next to the marked stitch. Chain 3 and double crochet into the top of the next double crochet. Pick back up on that 2-row repeating pattern until you have made your second body panel as long as the first. Our second body panel has reached the correct length, so it is time to make our second sleeve. Chain 3 and turn. We're going to follow that same stitch repeat pattern until we reach the edge of our back panel. Now we are going to chain the number of stitches and chains we left as a gap when we started our neck opening. For me, that is 3. So I'm going to chain 3 and then double crochet into the top of the other body panel. Depending on the number of rows, you will either be placing your stitch into the top of a double crochet or into the second chain of a chain 3. Continue your stitch repeat of chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet until you reach the end of your row. Chain 3, turn, and continue the 2-row repeat until our second sleeve panel is as long as the first. When you reach the chain you made to connect the 2 panels, just continue our pattern of chain 1, skip 1, double crochet across that chain as if it were part of the panel. Be sure to count all of your rows and do the exact same number of rows on your second sleeve as you did for the first one. Place your shrug panel onto your body and find the point where you would like your sleeve to start. Place a stitch marker on that point. You only need to find this point on one side of your body. Once you have marked this point, take off your shrug. Count how many rows away from the neck opening your stitch marker is, and then mark that same row on the opposite side. Count the same number of rows on the opposite sleeve of your shrug and mark either end of that same row on your second sleeve. Our shrug panel is now complete and ready to assemble. You can choose to sew yours together or crochet it together, either way is fine. I am going to crochet mine together using slip stitches to join the sleeves. Starting at the wrist or cuff end, sew or slip stitch your sleeves together, attaching the double crochets or the chains at the edge of each row together. Continue in this manner until you have reached the stitch markers, being sure that you keep your rows lined up evenly as you go. Repeat this same process on your other sleeve. Weave the ends into your shrug with a tapestry needle so that they are secure. If you'd like to add cuffs to your shrug, it's very simple. Tie your yarn onto your cuff on one side of the seam. Place a single crochet in every double crochet and chain in your cuff. Then slip stitch into your first single crochet to join your round. From this point, you could either add a few rows of single crochets, add a decorative stitch as a border like a shell stitch, or make a ribbed cuff. If you'd like instructions on adding a ribbed cuff, I do go over that in detail in my Showtime cardigan video. If you go to that video, you can use the timestamps to navigate to the cuff section, and I will walk you through that entire process. If you don't want to add a cuff to your shrug, then it's done. All that's left for you to do now is try it on and go out on the town, or if you're like me, go out in your yard for a photo shoot. I hope you like your new shrug. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and a share, and consider subscribing because I upload crochet videos like this and vlogs every other Wednesday, and I love to make new crochet friends. Speaking of crochet friends, follow me on social media. I am Graceface Creates on all platforms, and I post daily. Thanks again for watching, and happy crocheting!